Good morning.
What's up, man? Good morning. How are you?
What's going on? How you doing?
Man, I'm poolside out in Phoenix, Arizona. I have one of my best friends has turned 40 this week, and so the wife flew us all. She didn't fly us out, but she rented this like pretty sick Airbnb, and we got a pool. And I'm seeing it's so crazy how this works. Like as you get older, but like this is a dude. This is one of my best friends from high school, and I haven't seen him. I've seen him twice in the past 5 years. Like I was the best man at his wedding 5 years ago. And then I saw him a few years ago for like a Denver trip. And other than that, it's like, we're out having kids and stuff, Mike. We don't see each other as much.
Dude, life happens. Life happens,
right?
The days goes, the weeks goes, the months goes, the years, and then 5 years.
Yeah. So good morning to everybody. By the way, I'm Austin Pothast. I'm the director of sales on the team. Mike Perna is our CEO. My entire prep, by the way, this morning, Mike, consisted of me waking up and jumping in a pool in Phoenix, Arizona, because I didn't want to run the shower and wake the whole house up, and because it's 7 a.m. here. And now we're off and running. And so here's what we do, guys. Here's what we do. We do this every single Saturday. We do it at 10 a.m. Eastern time, 7 a.m. Pacific time, apparently. We answer anything that you want to know about real estate. And the last couple of weeks have been really, really cool and interesting. So anyway, keep bringing your questions. Also about 90s rap, apparently. By the way, Bismarck died. Did you see that?
Yeah, I just saw that.
Kind of sad.
I was not very happy with that one. Yeah.
57, by the way.
That's it?
That's it.
That's really young.
It's really young. Yeah, I think there might have been something else going on. When I read the article, they said he, died kind of bedside with his family. So I don't know if something else is going on. But man, thoughts to that family, thoughts to the entire hip hop community. Crazy. 57, young. It's it's a great reminder this entire thing is precious. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sometimes you get those little reminder moments that the entire experience is precious. Anyway. So yeah, Bismarck.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Man, so you guys, by the way, throw any kind of questions or comments or anything like that in the chat. We will make sure that we answer them. Anyway, let's have some fun with it. So anyway, what's on your mind in the real estate world, Mike?
It's been, at least I've been looking at this. It's been super interesting lately that, like with the 4th of July and just the way it kind of landed.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people took a little bit of extra time off. With the federal holiday being Monday, a lot of businesses being closed that Monday. There's 4 days and then you're on to a ton of people just take that entire stretch off. Right. And we kind of saw a little bit of a slowdown hump right there.
Yep.
But I'll tell you, all it really did was double down on the next week. So that's it. Like the last 6 or 7 days, especially in real estate, have been just tremendous. And we're seeing numbers. Austin, you and I were talking about that the other day, how like we were at 16 or 17 families served, 18 families served for the month. And then all of a sudden it jumped into the mid 40s and it was like, holy heck. So people are out, people are looking. Really is not slowed down the way that it normally does this time of year. Now, that's also price point specific. So one thing that I'm seeing on a national level is a conversation coming up about luxury real estate. And here in Michigan, luxury real estate is basically, at this point, about 1.2 million and up is considered the luxury and super luxury crowd. That is now starting to slow down quite considerably. And then especially above that 2 million mark, where we're getting closer to a pretty full stop, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What are you seeing out there?
Gosh, it's really interesting. If you would have asked me what luxury was, what do you think? 3-4 years ago, I probably would have said 800,000 and above in Michigan, somewhere 8-9.
Yeah, somewhere in that 7-8-9 range. Yeah.
So that's interesting. I feel like there's been a lot of luxury homes hit the market here recently, and by the way, the air gets thin up there. There's only so many people that can buy a home like that. But in fact, we've experienced it, right? We've got a couple of listings that are like north of 2 million. We've got a listing north of 3 million. Yeah, I mean, the days on market are a little bit longer. It's interesting how within that luxury space, Mike, one of the things that I find is very interesting is like it's not just days on market. By the way, days on market, for those of you that don't know, is an indicator of just kind of how quickly things are moving and how, right? So like if it's short days on market, it means that things are selling fast. If it's longer days on market, it just means that the cycle takes a little longer for something to sell. Or sometimes it's indicative of the fact that that maybe the home is a little overpriced, right? And so we kind of monitor that based on, and we have some percentages that we typically see based on the amount of showings and based on the amount of activity. But anyway, within that luxury space, you kind of always experience longer days on market.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're extending a little bit. It's just interesting to me within the luxury space, just everything slows down a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The negotiation slows down. The days on market slow down. It's interesting to me. It makes sense, but it's interesting to me. But yeah, I think we're in a little, and I don't know quite what to make of it, Mike. We've been talking to the team a little bit about this. I think we're kind of in this little sweet spot, this little like eye of the hurricane within real estate right now, which seems like a kind of a crazy thing to say because of kind of how hot the market is, and it feels like, so we saw a slight dip in interest rates.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen a slight increase in the amount of properties on the market.
Yep.
And so it's kind of weird. We've been talking, the narrative for the past year and a half has been we're simultaneously in a buyer market and a seller market, and because of the fact that interest rates are so low and things like that, and it's kind of a weird space. And I think it's actually swung a little bit where it's a kind of a good time to dip in. I actually think another underserved community too, Mike, is the investor community. I think if you're a buy and hold investor, particularly, I think there's a little sweet spot happening right now that you could take advantage of, just with a little drip in rates, and inventory has increased just a little bit, and you might find yourself in a competitive situation, but it's not going to be as aggressive as what it was, even 3 or 4 months ago. I think is kind of what we're experiencing. And we've seen a lot of clients now land homes. They tried to get homes. They were unsuccessful. Maybe they even got a little discouraged. Mm-hmm. And so now we've seen a contingent of people start to land homes that maybe were a little, maybe just weren't able to get stuff under contract previously. You know what I mean? So
no,
that's a lot of words.
I'm seeing a lot of properties that maybe 3 or 4 months ago would have gotten 8, 10, 12 offers are now getting 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Now that's not an indicator to sellers to say you're getting less money. It's an indicator you're still getting actually more money today, 4 or 5, 6 months ago, because the market's still swinging up, right? But it's an indicator like those 3, 4, 5 coming in up here instead of down 8, 9% like it would have been that 5 or 6 months ago. But it's an indicator that we're starting to even out a little bit.
Yeah. By the way, it also like, it's one thing to go up against 10 other buyers. That means on the next home you're up against 9, and then the next home you're up against 8, and then if somebody else enters in the market, you're back to 9. Yep. When you're up against 2 or 3 other offers, it's like, okay, we missed out on this one. We'll probably get the next one. Is what that looks like.
Yeah.
So,
and Jennifer, we're kind of
saying how do you counsel home buyers who are nervous about the homes moving quickly right now? What do you say on that?
Yeah, and we're kind of diving into that a little bit. Look at myself as an example. I'm looking for property right now. I'm actually getting out there and looking at a couple of properties that are moving fast, and it's just swinging the bat. And that's what I'm saying. I was having a conversation with a lady that called today. She lost a couple of offers, and now she wants to get out, see this one today in St. Clair Shores, and just make an offer right away. And the question is, hey, I know this property, and she literally just said to me on the phone, I know this property is going to be worth $25,000 to $50,000 more 12 months from now. I don't really care if I'm paying $10,000 or $15,000 past the asking price. And I think that's the right mentality. because the home values are moving up. Interest rates are remaining low. The Fed has adjusted their forecast for interest rates again just in the last 3 weeks. With the inflation rate. So inflation for June came out at 5.4%, which is an astronomical number, right? It's an astronomical number. And there's a lot that goes into that. The number one pusher of inflation was real estate. Number two pusher of inflation is used cars. Number three, lumber and some supply materials, right? And it's going to be a couple of months before we get that back in line, especially around the vehicles, because vehicle production is still low, still having a microchip and a supply problem, right? A material problem. Lumber has come down substantially in the last 60 days. Like it hit that peak because of non-production and then started just dropping, which is great. And we're seeing new housing starts move up because of it, especially in June.
Yeah.
So my advice to buyers is, hey guys, like I know this is a tough market. I know it's tough to get in. If you like the home, play the game. If you love the home, play the game to win. Because even if it feels like you're overpaying by 5 or 10,000 today, a year from today, you're going to look back and say, man, I'm glad I did it because, right? So the home across the street from me sold. And I'll just tell the story on that one. So it went on the market, went multiple offer. It was on for 210, went for 225, right? A home that's about a little bit over a year ago, a home that's not quite as well updated as mine, 2 blocks over, went on the market, about 100 square and sold at asking price. It went on for 285, sold for 285. Right?
Yeah.
So who is the winner in that one? The person that bought the home the year ago. Goes back to that old adage. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time to plant a tree? Today. Yeah.
It's really interesting, Mike. Yeah. It's really interesting. One of the guys that's here is he's a Morgan Stanley, right? He's an advisor.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to paraphrase a bunch of the conversation last night, but I think it'll help at this point. So I had asked him. I said, "Look, my guess is you've got some clients that are concerned about inflation." And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "What do you think the deal is?" And he said, "Well, look, the government. There's no doubt about it. The government's been putting, and the Fed have been putting money into the economy, and the biggest portion of that is to get people back to work."
Yeah.
I mean, right. The entire design of that and the entire intent around that was first to okay, let's make sure that the whole thing doesn't crash. And then the next intent was, okay, let's start getting people in a place where they can start to go back to work. Mm-hmm. And so as you see that taper off, you'll see people go back to work. Well, as people go back to work, that just creates, 70% of what our economy is just things that you and I buy.
Yeah.
And so the more people that are back to work, the more money that'll increase into that economy. And I said, okay, well, so what do I do? Obviously, I don't want to be sitting in cash. Like if I have cash in my bank account, I don't want to, although I want to have enough to make sure I have emergency expenses covered, like if something happened. But, by and large, if I've got excess cash, I don't want to be in cash because of inflation, right? Because the idea behind that is if inflation is 5.4%, that means a dollar yesterday is now worth 90, whatever the math is, 94
cents.
Yeah, 94 cents, 95 cents today, right?
Yeah.
And so he said, yeah, it's really easy. You buy assets. And I said, well, tell me more. And he goes, you buy real estate, or you buy you buy your equities, you buy whatever that looks like for you, but you buy assets. And so if you've got an economy that's taken this thing on the chin, you've got inflation going up, you've got, by and large, people are going back to work. And by the way, if someone's not back to work right now, it's a choice. It's not,
in this economy, it's a choice.
Not for everybody. I don't want to sound callous, but typically it's a choice right now. It's not it's not because they can't find employment for the most part. Yeah. Or maybe they're trying to find something a little bit better. But anyway, so over the course of time, there's just never been, over the course of time, that's really, you always win with real estate, right? You just always win with real estate. Yes. I mean, there's some micro economies where you wouldn't, like city specific, neighborhood specific, but by and large, like if you're in a reasonably normal kind of neighborhood, you win over the time. There's never been a 10-year period in real estate Matter of fact, I even think it's 5 years. I don't think there's ever been a 5 year period in real estate ever, including the recession, including the Great Depression, where you would have lost money in real estate. So are you? So my question back to the client would be: are you nervous because you think you're overpaying? Or are you nervous because you don't want to bid against people? And my guess is it's all of it. Well, here I'm sitting here telling you guys, if you're thinking that in your head, you're up against way less people right now, and over the next 5 years, right? You can't. You generally won't lose. You never have in American history. I'm not saying that you can't lose. So I'm just saying there's never been a time in American history, and uh, uh, ultimately you got to live somewhere.
Well, and that I was just thinking about that. So I was going to ask a question, Jennifer, what's the alternative to buying a home? If it's renting, then you're coming out on the losing end of that no matter what. And that's not to be callous or offensive. It just is a truth. It's the truth. And here's what I mean by that. So we had a client that bought a home from us 18 months ago up in Rochester, and they paid, I believe it was $395 or $390, right in that range. 18 months later, mid-pandemic, not even 18 months later, 14 months later, mid-pandemic, they realized that they wanted to be closer to family in Ohio. Their jobs had work from home and a permanent work from home, and said, you know what, we want to get out of here. We want the kids to be by other kids that are within the family. We want to get back to where our parents are, all of it. So one of our agents, the agent that sold them the property, went out there to put the property on the market. We put it on the market $45,000 higher than they had purchased it for, and ended up selling $60,000 higher than they purchased it for. So every expense that they had, every hard expense that they had was shored up, and there was some profit in there. Done, right? So when we're in this weird golden age of real estate where you can actually buy a home and 2 years later come out on top, even if you don't like it. And how many years have people been renting and saying, well, maybe next year, or I don't want to buy. And then all of a sudden 1 year goes to 3 years, goes to 5 years, goes to 10 years. And 10 years down the road, it's almost like gradually then suddenly. So gradually every single month, you're losing around $600 when you rent, no matter what. That's just a given. And I could talk about that a little bit. But then all of a sudden you lost $200,000 over 20 years for a lot of reasons. And one of the ones that Austin's talking about is, just that appreciation. So even if you take into account the down market in 08, 9, and 10, and you take into account the run up now and all the years in between and going back 10 years before that, the average home up roughly 4.5% per year, every single year for 30 years, right? So there are a couple different asset categories that you can buy and at least protect your investment. Real estate's one of them. Gold is one of them. Like literally just gold, like a bar of gold, right? Some stocks or S&P funds, right? But real estate is the only one where you get a triple bonus, right? So you're moving up to 4.5% per year, which doesn't sound great, but it actually is because you're paying out 3% right now on the interest rate, right? So you're actually making 1.5% on somebody else's money, right? And that's the difference. So if I've got $10,000 for a down payment, I can go buy 10,000 in gold. If it goes up 50%, great, I made $5,000, but I'm still living in an apartment. I'm still paying somebody, right? Or I can use that as a down payment, let's say on a $100,000 home, right? And this is in stocks, what they call buying on margin, which is legal to do with real estate, clearly, right? So now I'm making 1.5% per year on somebody else's $90,000. Yeah. Right. And I'm making 4.5% per year on my own $10,000 investment. Yeah. But that's not all of it. That's only one part of it. The other two parts are, I've got a home for my family, and there's an intangible value there that this is my home, that I can do what I want with it. I can move a wall. I can paint something. I can make it my own. I can add value by redoing a kitchen. I can do what I want to it, right? Not just leave the stark white walls, right? You'd have in rental. Second, the write-offs. And I'm not even kidding, right? So mortgage interest deduction. So there's another, let's call it on a $100,000 home, $1,500 to $1,800 back you're getting on your taxes every year, right? That's a big number over time. And that's why no matter what, before you do anything else, my opinion, get into a property. And if you don't love the property, great, spend 2 years there and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
It's all you're doing when you're renting anyway, except you get the bonus of getting money back on your taxes, making money on somebody else's money, and the value of the property going up. There's a really cool little calculator. It's going to take me a second to find this. There it is. So there's a really cool calculator that I found the other day that calculates the value of home ownership. And I'm just going to punch in a couple of numbers here because I think this is worth talking about. So $200,000, let's call it a 10% down payment. And let's put an interest rate of 3%. Okay. So I put in 200,000, 20,000 down, 30-year loan, 3% interest, average appreciation down. Oh, Rob Chubb. See, Rob Chubb. Average appreciation down at 4%, which is actually low. I put in an annual tax rate for that individual for 22%, which is about what the average American pays, right, on the money that they earn from their job. So in year one, it's going to appreciate $8,000 right in your pocket. Year one, you're going to pay off $3,700 on the loan.
So we're up to 11.7.
Yep. Year one, you're going to get $1,177 back on your taxes because the government wants you to own property.
So up to 13.
So, yeah. So just in those three things alone, between a very, very small appreciation, your principal reduction, and a conservative tax savings, you're at $13,000 to you in the first year. In the first year. And that just continues going up every single year because now that 200 that moved up to 208,000, the next 4% includes that 8,000, right? Your principal reduction, the way mortgages work, started at 3,700. The next year will be closer to 4,000. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, if you've got a client that's nervous about entering and they're a renter, that's a no-brainer. It's like, that's a no-brainer. Stop renting. The number one predictor of wealth in America is home ownership. I mean, stop renting. That's an easy argument to make. If someone is nervous about it and they're an existing homeowner, it's a little more difficult. And it's really not that difficult because here's what I find about people that move when they already own a home. Like, they got to move for a reason. And that's where you live.
Yep.
Right. So it might be like, hey, we just had another baby and this house isn't big enough. Or, gosh, I can't stand, I have people over and I don't have the backyard that I want to be able to do the things that I want to do. That's a lifestyle choice. Or like, or maybe I want to be on a golf course or a lake, or maybe I want to move because of school districts. I mean, it's, you got to keep in mind, people get caught up on it as an asset, but like, this is also where you live.
This is where you're making memories. This is where, when the kids are growing up, you're measuring them and notching the doorway. This is all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I really want to see that pool. Is that right behind you?
Yeah, man.
Dude, show me the pool.
It's where it's at.
Oh, that's so great. That's so great.
It's where it's at. Maybe at the end, I'll give you the inaugural, like cannonball, like a Q&A cannonball.
All right, guys, stay tuned at the end. We got a cannonball coming.
I don't know if I want to put my pasty dad bod on camera, but whatever. It's a cannonball. Hey, thanks, Amy. Yeah, we're in Phoenix. For those of you that didn't catch at the beginning, I got one of my best friends from high school turned 40 this week, and so we all went down to Phoenix. He lives in San Diego, but he had lived in Phoenix for several years actually, and there's a whole community out here, and so we all got together and did this little house. So anyway, it's fun. Are there any programs for new home buyers? Yeah.
And there are kind of two main ones here in Michigan. One of them is a national program, which is just FHA, right? FHA loans are still down at 3.5% down payment, very low down payment. Closing costs are very reasonable. You get the rate of the day, all of those things, right? And that's not a new product that's been around for forever. Second one, a long time.
The other thing that FHA does that's very nice, Kristen, is sorry to interrupt you, Mike, it allows you, It allows you to ask the seller to pay for your closing costs.
Yeah.
Now, most loans do, but FHA like allows you to ask for more. It's closing costs and prepaid. So there's money, right? There's closing costs associated with purchasing a home, and there's also what's called prepaid. So the way taxes work in the state of Michigan, for most communities, there are some communities, but for most communities, you pay in advance. And so what that means is like if you bought a home and they paid the property taxes in January, you right, you got to, and you bought the home in whatever July, you have to reimburse the seller for some of those taxes because they paid for an entire 12-month portion. And then there's some money that you need to set up your escrows so that your tax insurance are paid every single month out of your payments. And then there's some money that needs to be set aside, like to make sure that your summer tax bill is paid and things like that. So anyway, it allows you to ask for a little bit more on closing costs and prepaids.
Yeah.
Which is
so
a nice feature.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So with FHA versus conventional, it allows you to ask for up to 6% of whatever the purchase price is, which on a $200,000 house is like $12,000 of closing costs and prepaids, which is a very high number. Very, 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 very few purchases get close to that number. With conventional, it caps you at 3%. So that gives you $6,000 a runway, which sometimes doesn't cover everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I very rarely see where somebody needs the entire 6%, Kristen. Yeah. But it's like, but if the closing costs and prepaids are $7,500 and whatever, I'm just throwing out a number and you're only allowed to ask for 6. Sometimes that $1,500 makes a big difference for people, and so that you can actually ask for the $7,500. So usually, what we do in that scenario is we defer to the mortgage officer and just say, "Hey, what do they need? Like, what do we need to get this done?" And so to make sure there's a lot of communicating and in collaboration that goes back and forth between your real estate professional and your mortgage professional, which is why the relationship matters so much, to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. It's kind of like when you're buying a home and selling a home, there's like an entire team of people working in the background and different professionals doing different things. Insurance people, mortgage people, title people, real estate people, and we all have to collaborate and make sure there's a lot of moving pieces and a lot of nuance. And so it's the experience of the collaboration and the relationship really, really matter. And if not, you either might not get the home or sell the home, or you might just have a terrible time doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Okay. The other,
sorry.
Yeah. The other product out there is called MISHDA. Don't remember what the acronym stands for. And it's not really a loan, but it's a rider that goes on top of a loan. Okay. So the state of Michigan itself has set aside a certain amount of funds to lower down payments even further, down to either 0 or 1%, depending on the qualification. You bet. Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate it. And with MISHDA, which the money does tend to run out somewhere between July and September every year, as a fair warning. And again, it's a rider on a loan. It's not a loan itself. There are some pretty heavy qualification caps as far as income goes. If I remember right, and don't quote me on it, the Google machine probably has a better answer than me. I think it's at $57,000 this year as a household income.
Yeah.
And I might be off on that. They may have raised that, because the last time I looked at that was like 2 years ago. But like if you got a husband and wife and you're filing taxes jointly, if you're above 57,000, which a lot of households are when you've got two adults that are, then you don't qualify for it, which makes that very difficult. I see more people knocked off the program than actually get approved for it. Like
big time. He's saying MISHDA. That's MSHDA.
Yeah,
we just call it MISHDA in the industry. MSHDA.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll be completely candid with you. A lot of lenders don't even apply or get it as a product because the approval rate on it is so low.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you're buying in one of the outskirt areas, there's the
USDA.
Yep, the USDA loan can usually drop you about a quarter, sometimes up to a 0.3% on the interest rate. It's a great, again, subsidy by the state of Michigan. And that one is zip code specific, and it's based on the population of that zip code.
Yeah.
And I know I'm getting way into the woods, guys, but a great loan officer if you tell them your situation, whatever that is going to get into the best possible loan scenario for yourself, right? And they're going to dig through all these programs for you because there are several programs, and they're going to look at that and say, okay, is FHA the best option? Is the USDA loan the best option? Is, MISTA a great for this person, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Those rural development loans too.
Yeah.
USDA is synonymous with rural development.
Yeah.
It's the same
RD
thing.
loan.
Right?
Yeah.
Those rural development loans also allow you to put zero down and don't charge PMI oftentimes.
Yeah.
So you look where there's even less money down, and you don't, and the payment's a little lower because you're not backing up. Love you too, Allie. Ollie. I said Allie. Love you too, Ollie. Sorry.
For those of you that don't know, Ollie's got a great beard.
Yeah, man, that's a solid beard. I agree.
Way
more of a beard than I could ever grow. That's for damn sure. Anyway, those rural development loans are really nice too. The other thing, what you'll find sometimes with the larger banks. Now, here's the conundrum. There is oftentimes, like, if you went into the larger banks like Chase or Bank of America here locally, like a lot, I don't think that they offer a MISTA or USDA product. So it's almost like you've got to get a second opinion with them. But they have some grant programs that I've seen come across, and I don't know how much they are, but it's like $1,500 or $2,000, something like that, and they give it to you for free. Now, by the way, there's income qualifications at that, and it basically mirrors what MISTA is. So, like, you've got to make, you've got to buy in certain zip codes. You've got to buy that are considered maybe a little closer to middle class or lower income, and you've got to buy and they've got some income limitations on there, and they're typically about the same as MISTA. They're about 57,000 typically, and I'm kind of spitballing, but I've seen where Chase and Bank of America and some of those banks have given out grants where they just give you $2,000 towards the purchase of the home. Now, you have to use it towards the purchase of the home. You're not walking out with a check for $2,000, but it's kind of a cool way to do it. But that MISTA program, if you can get the money, is kind of cool. There are some repayment, like you have to live in the home a certain amount of time.
Yep.
Some things like that. So there is some repayment within those MISTA programs, but
and be careful with that. It's not own the home a certain amount of time. It's live in the home as a primary residence.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I would say a very, 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 very small percentage of clients that are served here in Detroit qualify and or take advantage of those programs. Believe it or not. I don't know. I'd be making up the percentage, but I don't think it could be much more than 3 to 5%. Do you?
No.
Yeah.
No, that's it. Yeah. We're not talking about like huge dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like 30 grand.
But it gives you that little extra boost. But there are programs like, look, Kristen, if that FHA loan, if you're buying a $200,000 home, it's $7,000 down.
Yeah.
And then you could get into the home outside of that. Sorry, you're buying a $200,000 home for $7,000 down. I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's really good. Yeah.
I mean, 30 years ago, you would have needed 40,000 down, right?
Yeah.
So anyhow.
No, those are great questions, especially about the first-time buyer loans or first-time buyer programs, because there are a couple left in the market. Not a ton, but there are still a couple out there that a good loan officer can dig up.
Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one. In this market, how are VA loans holding up in offers?
It's a challenge.
I was just going to say it can be a challenge, especially when you national or a conventional offer. And again, just being candid, it just goes specifically to a lot of sellers look at VA loan or the VA loan and say, okay, there are extra inspections here. And the way VA is structured, the buyer cannot do anything. They can't put any dollars in towards any repair work or anything else like that. Right. So if you've got a multiple offer situation and you've got a cash, a conventional, or a VA, the VA is probably the first one to get knocked out, which is sad because it is such a great home product. I was actually on the phone with the gentleman this morning about it, who's moving back to Michigan from Texas to be near his family and his grandkids. He's 65. He's buying a home here in Southgate. And even it's something that he didn't know about the product. And here's one thing things that make it great, or actually I think the thing that makes it great is beyond the zero down payment, and the almost zero closing cost is the only loan left that's truly assignable. And that's it. It doesn't have to be assigned to somebody else with a VA certificate. It can be assigned to anyone. And why that's so cool is 5 years from now, our interest rate is going to be lower or higher. Probably higher, right? I mean, my bet and money would say, though, they're probably going to be higher. So if you get a VA loan today, 0.75 or a 3% or a 3.25, and interest rates fly up to 4%, 4.5, or 4.75, the loan itself becomes a product, right? It becomes part of the value. Next buyer can take over that loan and then HELOC out the rest of the money as well. I've actually done that before. So in Livonia, we had a gentleman that was selling his home, and this is back before the down market came down and then went back up a little bit. And part of the offer, we charged the buyer extra dollars to be able to take over that VA loan because it was at a lower interest rate than the buyer otherwise would have gotten. And that was pretty cool, actually. That was pretty cool. But again, it's the last one left that's completely transferable, right? With VA loans, I would personally, if you're locked into the VA loan and that's what you're going to use, I would look at properties that have been on the market 7 days plus, because they don't have an offer that you're competing against, generally speaking.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a unfair stigma against VA loans.
Yeah, it is.
And here's why, in my opinion. One, most VA loans, not all, but most of them they're putting very little down. As a matter of fact, the VA allows you to put zero down, right? And so sometimes if you're a seller, if you're selling your home, and you've got one offer where they're putting 20% down, you've got another offer that they're putting zero down, and everything else is virtually the same, you're probably picking the 20% down. And here's why. If something goes haywire in the inspection, or something goes like, that person has the money to fix whatever, you know what I mean? To make sure that it gets to the closing table. And keep in mind, if an offer doesn't get to the closing table, then it's, you know what I mean? It's the same.
What are we doing this for? Yeah.
Yeah. Secondly, there's a VA does an added inspection at appraisal.
Yeah.
So when they appraise the home, they do it, and it's not particularly arduous. I mean, it's not like crazy. It's just they're looking to make sure that the home on a basic level is in livable condition. It's, you know what I mean? The furnace works. There's not a tripping hazard on the concrete. There's not paint chips that children could eat and get lead poisoning, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that they're looking for.
Yeah, and I'm going to jump in on this one. You're right about it being an unfair stigma. For the most part, I mean, the last 4 or 5 VA loans that I've seen either nothing come through, or go to Home Depot and for $50 buy a handrail and screw it in. Like literally, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing, for the most part, $300 or $400 of repair work or less on most properties, because most properties are generally in really good repair, or scrape and paint, these 2 windowsills, like easy stuff, like little stuff that as a seller, if I was selling a home and there's a substantial advantage to a VA loan, I'd probably go with it personally.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that statement, by the way.
Yeah, anyway,
so they do these little inspections, and then so there's that added kind of one extra inspection, right? So the other thing that they do is they require the seller to pay for a pest inspection on the property, which is we're talking $100.
Yeah.
And by the way, we've got a really great partnership with a home inspection company that will do that portion for free.
Yep.
So we have the ability. Yeah, we have the ability to make sure that doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say trademark home inspections, and they're fantastic. They are certified to do VA pest inspections, and FHA used to require them too, but then stopped about 15 years ago. A little less than 15 years ago, but they are certified to do VA pest inspections specifically and submit that report the way it should be done. And I'm not as concerned about the pest inspections. We don't seem to have a ton of termite problems and things like that. Not saying that we don't, because I've seen it, but it's not like Florida, right? And that's a whole different animal. So in Florida, when you're purchasing a home, a lot of offers, what part of Florida you're in, the agents will include verbiage like, and I want to see for pest inspections quarterly for the last 5 years or whatever that looks like, because it's such an issue that, and this is not a VA thing, this is just a real estate thing, that you want to make sure that you're getting a pest inspection done quarterly and getting sprayed down quarterly, right? It was such a small problem that FHA considered it at one point more of a buyer tax than an actual help. So they ended up actually letting that go. VA hasn't yet, but I would anticipate sometime in the next couple of years, VA will drop off the pest inspections in northern states, for like state specific, just like FHA did.
Yeah. So if you're selling your property, here's what you care about: the property is going to sell. And if your home is in good shape, it's not in disrepair, and you know what disrepair means, right? If it's in good shape, it's not in disrepair, and you're up against a conventional or a VA, like, consider taking the VA. One, you're helping out a veteran. In my experience, Mike, vets or active military people might be my favorite clients to work with. Like, they do what they say they're going to do at the time frame that they say in which they're going to do it, as it turns out, right? They're very punctual people. They follow directions. They're good people. They're family people. And I, in particular, love working with military clients, and like genuinely love working with. They're easy to work with, and what I find is that those deals go to the closing table as much, if not more, than a conventional deal. So anyway,
yeah,
it might delay. Here's the other thing: you've got to get some. There's some government approval stuff that adds 3 days to the loan process. So, like, yeah. So I think it's an unfair stigma. And so, to answer your question directly, in this market, in every market, VA loans have a challenge. For whatever reason, that stigma exists that shouldn't.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, it's too bad.
Yeah. These are great questions. What else we got, guys? Keep them going.
Great questions. Yeah.
Yep. And if you're just tuning in, my name is Mike Perna. I'm the CEO of the Perna team with Keller Williams. This is Austin Pothast, our director of sales. Is that what we're going with? That's what we're going with.
I don't know.
Yeah.
President of Things Awesome.
Yeah.
President of Helping the Families Move. I don't know.
Yeah. And we do this every Saturday with the exception of holidays. Every Saturday, jump on with any and all real estate questions. We are happy to answer pretty much anything, right? Real estate and not real estate related.
Yeah. Nothing's off the table.
Nothing's off the table.
Nothing's off the table.
And apparently right now, nothing is on the table because nobody's
asking. Nothing's on the table either. It's really good. It's funny. Keep going on the VA thing. There's another tactic, and I know it actually sounds really cheesy, and yet it's quite effective in some cases. Is sometimes what we'll do within an offer is we'll include a family letter, and in particular, when you're a VA client and you write about your family and you share what that property is going to do for you and how you've served the country and things like that. It's effective, deservedly so. I mean, we do a lot here in America to honor vets, I think, in my opinion, and it's like it's kind of almost not even enough. It's like these are people that are choosing to put their lives above. Right, they're choosing to put the country above their own lives. It's like, that's a special person. Sorry, I didn't do it. Mike, you didn't do it. They're choosing to put the country above their own lives. I mean, it's like
it's the ultimate sacrifice.
Untold. Like, think about if you're a parent and you told your kid to have a midnight curfew, and like you're sitting up waiting and it's 12:30 and you're like freaking out and like, where are they? And it's like, at first it might be anger, but then it's like, it's just pure worry. Like, are they okay? They're not answering their phone. Like, now imagine you having your husband or wife or son or daughter, like, in Afghanistan, you know what I mean? Or even here, like even locally in America, right? Like down in Georgia, it's like, anyhow, because the sacrifice those families make, I can't even fathom it, and I can't even tell you how grateful I am for it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of new construction, for those considering building modestly sized homes with an eye towards profit and future resale, do you think it's becoming viable again with lumber price dropping? I think what he's asking, Mike, is what if I bought a piece of land and built my own place. Do you think I could sell it in 5 years and make money? Or that's how I'm reading it.
Yeah, that's how I'm
That he
reading it.
intends on living in the property for a little bit, and uh, right, and then but he wants to make sure that he's not doing something crazy, uh, with today's lumber prices and putting himself at risk 5 years from now. That's how I'm reading it. Do you read it differently?
No, no, I'm reading it the same way, and
Okay.
I think. I think also the definition of modestly is going to vary just by the person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For this discussion, let's call it 400 to 700,000. Um, I think we've actually reached that point with new construction where it's really hard to break in under four, like no matter what, with the cost of the
Yeah.
land and everything
So we're
else. I
talking
mean,
a 3,000 square foot that's running you at $500,000.
yeah, let's say that.
Okay.
And also I'm gonna put the caveat in for this moment. I'm gonna talk about homes that are more specifically in neighborhoods built by like a Pulte or an MI Home or a Toll Brothers or a Lennar or any of those guys, right? Yes, I think with the lumber prices coming down plus appreciation going the other way, pushing up, we're right back in it. And I can see that with the June starts. So the June home housing starts have almost doubled what they were 3 months ago because lumber prices have come down, which is great. Every county across Metro Detroit has seen the housing starts double again, which is nice. And it needs to happen because we have a complete lack of homes, period, that have been built over the last 10 years. And for more information on that, check out Fox 2. Actually did an interview on that on Thursday with Rob, which was nice. Now, with generally speaking, there's a little bit of a super appreciation that happens in those first 6 to 8 years. And then a home is not necessarily considered new anymore. And then it changes to regular appreciation, right? So we have a significant number of people that come to us that say, hey, I want to buy a home. I want to buy an existing home, but nothing older than 2015, nothing older than 2018, nothing older than 2014, right? And they're willing to pay a little bit of a premium to get that home. And part of that goes to, the furnace, the roof, the windows, all of those things. You still have a lot of runway and a lot of life left on it, right? But once you start getting into the 90s and the 80s, if you're in the 90s and you haven't started redoing, you should probably at least go take a look at it or have a qualified contractor out to look at it. Because if you've got a home built in 95 and you have not done the roof, it is really darn close. Yeah. And I don't want you to have any problems either. I don't want a small problem that could be solved by just poking your head up into the attic with a flashlight, looking around, making sure there's no dampness, become a big mold issue where you're ripping everything off, including boards. And then all of a sudden it's a $20 or $30,000 problem. But to answer the question directly, yes, I think building a home in that 400 to 700 range, especially if you're in a neighborhood, and you have an eye to sell in, let's call it 8 years or less, you're definitely going to come out the winning end of that, 100%.
Definitely going to come out of the winning end of that. I mean, what's interesting is people go in and they shop out. Like you drive by a new construction site, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
This is like Toll Brothers or Pulte or My Homes or something like that is building a neighborhood. And people drive by that, and it's like you see the sign and it says like homes in the 390s or whatever, and then by the time you actually talk to the rep and get the things that you want, you end up paying $450 or whatever. It's just how it works, right? And so sometimes I find people that are clients that get sticker shock.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're buying a brand new home. It's like you're buying a brand new home. You get it exactly how you want it. You get it, right? There's also some sacrifices within that, right? Maybe the neighborhood isn't like completely finished, and so you're one of the first people in, or maybe maybe you got to get the lawn up and going or the landscaping up and going and those kind of things. But no, look, if you're planning on buying a new construction home and staying in it for 5 to 8 years, good to go. Once you start creeping into that 15-year, it's just, things 15, 20 years, it's still not a bad decision. It just meant that that's like your family home. That's where you guys did Christmases every year, right? That kind of thing. Yeah. And you might look, putting a new roof on and siding and windows or whatever needs to be done costs money. So furnace, whatever. So
I mean, that's just the cost of playing the game. It
yeah,
just is. It just is.
yeah,
And I'm going to run that out to generally I tell people when they walk into a new construction, plan on 10 to 20% added to the top of whatever's on the sign, because you still have to do grass and you still have to do, for the most part, decks are not included. Not all the
yeah,
time, but a lot of the
yeah,
time, or a
yeah,
patio or whatever that looks like, right?
yeah,
And there's a lot that goes on with that. To your point, Austin. I mean, it's you know, a lot of builders are including 2-panel doors now in their construction, but they're also not 2-panel solid. They're 2-panel hollow. You want to upgrade to solid doors? Great. Write a bigger check. You want to upgrade to more can lights, like what's right above your head right now? Great. Write a bigger check. You want to upgrade to better electrical where you can put a fan in later easier? Great. Write a bigger check. And that's just how it goes. And that's literally just how it goes. And that's also part of the reason, and there are a couple of reasons, but that's part of the reason why you always need to bring an agent with you, because where you can pick up in a negotiation is typically not in the price of the construction, but in both the amenities and the lot premium. Okay.
yeah,
And what I mean by that is, with the neighborhood, they've got certain lots that they consider a premium lot versus a standard lot. And that could include, back into woods versus back into another home. It could include a daylight basement instead of a standard basement, or a walkout basement instead of a standard basement, or a pie shaped lot that's super big versus one that pinches in the back and is super small. Right. Those are the things you can negotiate on, are those $50,000 or $75,000 lot premiums, not necessarily the price of the home itself. The other things you can negotiate on and are including some more can lights, including an upgraded hardware, upgraded carpet, upgraded padding, upgraded. I mean, the list goes on forever. I mean, if you can think it, a builder will do it, right? And that's where you want to negotiate. And then continuing kind of down that path, there was a follow-up question. There we go. Yes, it does. Closer in, it is super hard to find new construction anywhere between, let's call it 150 and 250. And when I say
call it
closer
under
in, I mean,
3. You got to go.
yeah,
You got to go way out there.
you got to go way out there.
You got to
And
drive.
in a lot of cases, you're also looking at homes that don't have basements, because that's where the builders are picking up or removing a lot of the cost. Okay, so the same reason why builders do not like building ranches, and they prefer to build on the east side what they call split levels, on the west side, those first floor masters, Cape Cods, right? Capes or whatever, just a little bit different nomenclature depending on where in Metro Detroit you are, is the same reason why they don't want to build ranches. Is the foundation is the single most expensive part of a house.
Yep.
Pouring that concrete. And so that's where somewhere between the 60s and the 70s, as the cost of concrete skyrocketed during that range. If you look at homes built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, early 60s, we see a ton of just war house ranches, right? Like in my, it is exactly that. Like it's all ranches all up and down. But then once you get into the late 60s and 70s, all of a sudden builders start going up because wood was cheaper than concrete, right? And it was easier to double the square footage on the top instead of going wide, right? A lot of cases, let's say you're out in the Grand Blanc area and you see that great neighborhood and they're saying starting at 180 and then you're probably going to end up at 250 anyway. Take a look at that, because 9 times out of 10, there's no basement. So I just want to make sure that is out there. But yes, I think that would still be the route to go if you can go it. And then Cody's asking if the new driveway port included. It is. Where they will get you on the upgrades on that is sometimes people want an extra wide driveway, extra 6 to 12 inches on each side, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll see a home with like the brick paver lining it to make it a little extra wide, so you can truly fit 2 cars on without them being smashed together, right? Because if you have company over and the cars are too close together, now you're just opening a door into another door, and that just kind of sucks. So some of those extra wide driveways or the extra pours, they're going to charge you for sure, 100%.
Yeah.
But yeah, driveway is included. Yeah, great questions. Yeah, keep going. Good.
Yeah, if you want new construction under, gosh, even 400,000, I mean.
Well, and let's qualify that. So the median sales price in the United States just eclipsed 350,000. So in May, it went to $350,400. That's the average sales price, right?
Yeah.
Here in Southeast Michigan, we're a little bit above 280 right now. I think we were at 287 coming off of June, if my memory serves and my numbers hold, right? Generally speaking, new construction goes at the average and above all the time.
Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah.
So you're buying a brand new home.
Yeah. It's gonna be super hard to find the thing that you want under 350, almost impossible under 280 in Metro Detroit. And then again, I'm talking about some of the closer in cities. I'm talking about getting a basement, getting an attached garage, those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not a bad thing. It just is what it is. You know?
It's good.
Yeah. Great questions.
They're just good questions. Yeah. What else?
What else we got, guys?
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm glad we nailed it. Yeah. Hey, what are you doing today for the rest of the day?
So we got like a brunch.
Nice.
And I think we're supposed to dress up, but I'm not going to.
You mean dress up how? Like in a Halloween costume?
I think so.
Okay. It's like a Harry Potter.
No, I think we're supposed to wear like a polo, and I didn't. I just brought t-shirts. And then I think we're gonna barbecue later.
That sounds like a nice day.
So we're pretty much like, here's what I did last night. We did like a surprise party, but it was all just like kids running around everywhere, right? It's just funny how that works.
Yeah.
All I did was 38 cannonballs over and over and over because the kids were loving it because it was making like this giant wave pool. And I'm not a small man. So, it's they loved that. And then we played this game where, those like squirt guns where you like pull it back and then squirt people.
Yeah. So
we played a game where I shot the kids in their belly button. They really liked that. And then, it's just a bunch of people that have known each other for 20 years. So it's just like,
Dude, that's awesome.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy. Anyway, we're having a good time.
Yeah.
We're having a good time. It's still getting in bed early. I was still in bed last night by like midnight.
Right?
Party house. I know.
Side of 40 here, my man. I mean, it is this is the way life is now.
It's just how it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
Never thought I'd be here. I made it.
Yeah.
You made it. We made it.
Somebody made it.
Yeah.
Somebody made it. Oh, it's good.
Oh,
all right, we're good. If there's no other questions, I think let's call it a day.
Let's wrap it up. Hey, just out of curiosity, how's the weather there?
Man, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So raining. Last week they were getting 115 degrees, which is like literally walking around in a sauna. Now they always try to throw the dry heat thing at you. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And yesterday it dropped in the morning. It's basically hovering right around 100. And so honestly, like when you take out the humidity, 100 in Michigan feels like, 110 because of the humidity, but there's no humidity. So 100 here feels like 90. So it was kind of awesome. And then this backyard area has plenty of like sun cover. So I just spent most of the time cowering in the shade.
Yeah.
We haven't even been able to get any sun in Michigan this summer. It's like
no.
It's been pouring over there, huh?
Oh, it was pouring all yesterday. Well, and I lost power yesterday morning just because like the wind blew, so I lost power because that's what happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I gotta admit, I love Arizona. Last time I was there, I made it a point every morning, like before the sun came up, and that like little 2-hour window, I'd get my run in and do things like that. Because in the direct sun, it was. I mean, and it's probably the same way now as it was years ago, but it was difficult just running at like 9 a.m. Just beating on you. But at 5 or 6 a.m. it was like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Even on our way to the airport yesterday, it was like couldn't even see. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Well, enjoy the rain, buddy. I'm gonna enjoy
the sun, man.
There it is. Hey, thanks. You too.
Tuesday in the office. Yep.
All right. See you guys.
All right, guys. Enjoy the day.